Hello everyone, my name is Zach and welcome to On Cash Flow, where I help you become a master of your own cash flow. Now let's get started. Today I'm going to be talking about the infamous Rob Berger. Rob, I really love the channel. I learn all the time from Rob's channel, and I definitely think that you should as well, because this man is a great wealth of knowledge. But more specifically today, I'm going to be talking about a video that Rob made, and the video is VOO versus VTI. So basically, this is Vanguard's funds, Vanguard's S&P 500 index fund versus Vanguard's Total U.S. stock market fund. Very similar funds, but very different in many ways. And Rob breaks it down pretty good. So the video itself that he posted is 17 minutes long. He posted it in April of 2021. And at the time of me recording this, he had over 103,000 views, and 98.7% of them of the ratio is likes. So a 98.7% like ratio. I'm included in that like ratio because I like the video as well. You can tell that this is a pretty good video and people are definitely liking that video. And that's why today I'm going to be giving my response to this particular video that Rob made. We're going to be talking about some of the really great points that he brings up in there. Of course, you need to watch the video for yourself, but I'm going to talk about a few of the great points that I really want to point out in there. But also, I'm going to give Rob a little bit of constructive criticism. Maybe he doesn't need it, but I'm going to give it to him anyway. The first thing that I really want to talk about is around the 8-minute and 33-second mark. Rob is talking about the dividends when it comes to these two funds, and he specifically says that dividend difference doesn't matter. And I strongly agree with this, and I really wanted to point it out because even though VOO and VTI, they have different dividend yields, it really does not matter. It just simply makes sense why they have different yields, because S&P 500 index fund, they're going to have a larger percentage of those companies are more established, and so it's going to have a slightly higher dividend yield than VTI, than the Total U.S. stock market fund, because that's going to include a lot more smaller companies, and those smaller companies very most likely are not going to be paying any dividends. The actual dividend difference isn't even something that you should take into account if you're actually looking at these two funds, because if you're looking at these two funds, your primary goal is probably not going to be dividends in the first place, and so the dividend yield probably shouldn't be one of your determining factors when you're deciding between these two funds specifically. And it's really great that he pointed that out, because it's total performance. What's going to grow you the most wealth over time? Which one of these is going to do that? That's what's way more important. And then moving on a little bit more into the video, at around 10 minutes and 56 seconds, he points out that when he's looking back at long-term returns and he looks at a simple amount of money invested over time and what it has grown to. But he specifically points out in this step that when you're actually doing this, when you're looking back at these long-term returns, you should not do lump sum investments, because for the vast majority of us out there, we're not going to be starting with a lump sum investment. We're not going to be starting with $10,000, which is like the default setting that when it comes to backtesting portfolios, especially in Portfolio Visualizer. So that's not going to be what most of us are going to be doing. Most of us are going to be putting, $100, $200, $300, $400, $500, $1,000 per month into these investments every single month, and pretty much just doing that for several amounts of years until we retire. Hopefully retire early, become financially independent. So that's usually what we're going to be doing. And so it makes so much more sense that when you're backtesting portfolios, please do, like at least monthly contributions or weekly contributions. Please do dollar cost averaging, unless specifically you actually do have a lump sum to invest. But in most cases, as he points out in this video, you definitely need to do contributions and not lump sum investing. And keep in mind, like I said before, this is a 17-minute video, and if I was going through all the pretty much all of it is a really good point that Rob brings up, but I cannot go through every single good point. But one that I do want to point out is at about 16 minutes and 20 seconds, so towards the end of the video. And this is on deciding on where you're going to put these investments, either in a brokerage account or an individual retirement account or like in a 401k. He's kind of discussing this concept of which one would be better to invest in whatever specific account. And the point that he really makes here that's really great is that he talks about how simple or how much control do you want over your portfolio. So more specifically, he talks about if you're going to be using the S&P 500 funds, that means that you can allocate more to those smaller and mid-cap companies if you choose to do to break them up. So you can break it up into using the SP 500 fund, and then you can break it into using a medium cap fund, and you can break it into using a small cap fund. So you have small, medium, and large cap, and you can allocate among those three if you want to do it that way. Or otherwise, if you want to keep it simple, which is mostly my philosophy, I just want to keep everything pretty much as simple as possible and have as little funds as possible. I go with 100% VTI. I go with the Total U.S. stock market. However it is allocated based on the size of those companies, that's how I'm going to own it. So that's how I do it. That is how many other people do it as well. So it just depends on what you want. Do you want more simplicity? Do you want more control? control over what your asset allocations are going to be. That's going to be your personal preference. But it's a really good point because they are very similar. Both of these funds are very similar. They technically are very different in the amount of companies that they hold, but because they're cap weighted, they're very similar in the end. And so in the long run, it's probably not going to matter too much either or. What's going to matter more than, choosing between VTI and VOO, what's going to matter more is how much you're contributing to them, how long you're holding them for, and are you investing smartly along the whole way? Are you not getting in and out of the market and all that good stuff? So are you buying and holding for the long run? Both of these are probably going to be a really great choice. And another really great choice is actually watching the actual video that Rob made, because it's a really great video and he has lots of great other videos as well. Even though we have talked about some really great things that Rob has brought up, I do want to give some of that constructive criticism, because you can't just give all praise all day, every day, right? You do have to give some criticism sometimes. But before we do that, a really good thing that you could do is hit the like button on this video if you're enjoying it so far. Because if you like it when I review other channels' videos, then make sure you hit that like button so I know and so that I can keep doing it. But let's move on to some constructive criticism here. And it doesn't really have to do mostly with the actual video itself or the actual content itself. It mostly has to do with just Rob's style. And no, I personally really like Rob's style, the way that he actually does his videos. I do want to point out some things that I've seen some other people note in the comments below, and maybe something that I've had in the back of my mind. And that is that his videos are pretty long form content. So this is a 17-minute video, whereas I think that most of the content that was covered in that video, it probably could have been done, in a shorter amount. It probably could have been done in 10 minutes versus the 17 minutes that he has done. Now, if he doesn't really care about that, if he doesn't really care about average view duration and all that good analytic stuff that when it comes to YouTube, then more power to him. I really enjoy the long form content that he counts because I really love all the other insights that he gives while he's doing it. And possibly the reason why the video ended up being 17 minutes is that there is a lot of repeating of that information. So there is some repeating of the same information within the video itself. I personally like that because I like recapping and just, I actually do that myself in these videos, and I try not to do it, but I end up repeating myself plenty of times in these videos, and I'm really sorry for that. I try editing some of them out, but sometimes it just makes more sense to just keep it in there, or else it's a weird little cut. But for people on YouTube, especially the younger generation, we have short attention spans, and they're getting shorter and shorter every single day. You can see that with the rise of all these other new social media places where everything is only 2 seconds long. So maybe he could keep the videos a little bit shorter and possibly repeat itself a little bit less often. I don't know. Otherwise, besides that, it's really difficult for me, to be honest with you, to criticize Rob's content because I think it is so good. And I think it's literally what people need to watch. It's not different than what people maybe want to watch. There's a difference between what people think that they want to watch and what they really need to watch and what they really need to know. What you think you need to know and what you really need to know. And Rob is teaching what you really actually need to know. So if you haven't seen Rob Berger's channel, make sure you go over there and check out his channel because he has a wide array of really great content on everything about investing. I've learned so much from Rob and I really appreciate what he does, and that's why I want you to go and appreciate what he does as well. But before you move over there and go check out his channel, I want to know in the comments below your personal response to this. VOO versus VTI. Which one do you prefer to invest in? Do you invest in both? Do you invest in one or the other? Would you rather have more money in the S&P 500 or more money in a total U.S. stock market? Please let me know in the comments below. And when you're done leaving that comment below, make sure you check out the video that I made that is very similar to his video where I compared the S&P 500 versus the total stock market index fund. It's a little bit of an older video, but it's really fun to watch how I thought back then. So make sure you check out that video if you haven't watched that video already. Now, thank you so much for watching this video. I'm Zach from OnCashflow.com, and I hope to see you next time.